Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is John Huntsman, and I am board chair of the Atlantic Council, and we welcome one and all here this morning for this very special and extraordinary event. We are honored to have with us today His Excellency Mohammed Marzuki, President of the Republic of Tunisia. And Mr. President, this overflow room speaks to the great character and esteemed credentials of you, as well as Washington's sincere admiration for your country and for what Tunisia has accomplished thus far in its democratic transition. Now, we're live streaming this event, and we encourage all of those here today and tuning in online to use the hashtag #ACTunisia to join the conversation on Twitter. Now, it is truly remarkable when one reflects on how far Tunisia has come. 3.5 years ago, a young Tunisian fruit vendor self-immolated out of a sense of hopelessness and despair. This act of desperation morphed into a movement of peaceful protest, sparking a popular uprising in which the Tunisian people voiced their grievances and made legitimate demands for more political and economic opportunity, and successfully ousted the former regime. The post-revolutionary journey has not been easy. The assassinations of high-profile political leaders last year shook Tunisian society to its very core, escalating political tensions that threatened to derail the transition. Ultimately, the various stakeholders mustered the political will to negotiate and engaged in a national dialogue and committed to a consensus-based roadmap. In January of this year, Tunisia adopted a new constitution, considered the most progressive in the Arab world. And the country is now preparing for parliamentary and presidential elections later this year. That will be a critical turning point. President Marzuki has played a central role in all of these events and has been instrumental in Tunisia's current success. A physician and longtime human rights activist, he was exiled from Tunisia for over 10 years for daring to stand up to the Ben Ali regime. He continued his activism abroad, was appointed head of the National Committee for the Defense of Prisoners of Opinion, and returned to Tunisia in 2011, immediately following the Jasmine Revolution. He was elected to his current position by the National Constituent Assembly in December 2011, serving his country through its trials and triumphs of the democratic process. Recognizing President Marzuki's tireless commitment to democracy and human rights, in the summer of 2012, the Atlantic Council presented him with the Council's Freedom Award. A delegation that included former Congressman Jim Colby and retired General George Casey personally presented the award to him at the Presidential Palace in Tunis. So our organization has a cherished relationship with you, Mr. President, making this occasion an opportunity to host you even that much more special. I'd like to note that this event today is co-sponsored by the Atlantic Council's Rafiq Hariri Center for the Middle East and the Africa Center in a joint effort to elevate the discussion of African and Middle Eastern affairs here in Washington. The Hariri Center, founded in 2011 in the midst of the Arab awakening, has focused specifically on the Arab transition countries by providing a platform for policy discussion and original analysis of the political and economic dynamics of these changes. For the past 3 years, the Hariri Center has worked to elevate attention to Tunisia and to underscore the importance of its success, with the broader aim of fostering prosperous, democratic countries throughout the Arab world. We're very eager to hear the President's thoughts on these issues and to engage in a conversation with you following his remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it gives me great honor and privilege to turn this podium over to His Excellency, President Marzuki of Tunisia.
Honorable Director Kemp, ladies and gentlemen, Well, I must confess that I'm very moved to be here. I feel that I have to answer your questions, but I'm not quite sure that I have all the response because myself, I'm looking for some of them. Last week, I received in my home Tawakkul Korman. You probably know that she is a leading human rights activist in Yemen and that she is a Peace Nobel Award. And with her, one of my best Egyptian friend, Ayman Noor. And both of them, they told me, Mr. President, you are the last hope. You, I mean Tunisia, not myself. You, Tunisia, are the last hope because you see that everything is going. We never expected the Arab Spring to turn out to be this horrible civil war in Syria, this chaos in Libya, come back to the dictatorship in Egypt and so forth. So you are the only hope. And you have to succeed not only for Tunisia, but for the whole Arab world. And we do feel this burden because Tunisia is a small country, as you know. It's a modest country. We never expect in our history to be responsible or so responsible of. We were the first to be surprised by the sparking by the of the Arab Spring from Tunisia. We were the first surprised of how important Tunisia has become for many Arabs and for many Westerners and so forth. And this is why, yes, we think that we have an obligation. Yes, we must be a success story. This is our feeling. Would we reach this objective? I don't know. I hope so. I'm doing all my best to do so. But we know that it's extremely difficult. First of all, because, of course, we have our internal problem, but Tunisia is not an island. Tunisia is surrounded by a lot of countries, you know, having their own problems and exporting their own problems to us. For instance, Libya. Currently, we have an important crisis, humanitarian crisis on our borders because we're suffering from what's happening in Libya. We suffered also what happened in Mali. A lot of our young people now are training in jihad in Syria, and they are probably going back to Tunisia. One day and another, we are probably going to face them. So the challenge is not only national, it's also regional. But I can also be proud I can say that we have had to face three major challenges. And I can say that, well, if you compare our situation to the other Arab country, we can say that we did it. The first major crisis, of course, was the political crisis. The political crisis, Tunisia is a divided society, secularist and Islamist, social classes, poor and rich, young, and et cetera, et cetera. And reaching a consensus was not easy. But we did it. We did it, and we have had this constitution. I'm very, very proud of our constitution, not because what's written in, but because of the process. We have had thousands of hours of discussion. Thousands of people have participated in discussing this constitution, and this is why it's our constitution. Every Tunisian feels that this constitution is his. So we reached also consensus about government, about the first government, the second government, and now the third government was also fruit of this consensus. We decided that we are going to stick to our own values. I mean, in Tunisia, no journalist has been sent to prison. No television has been shut down like in other countries. We have protected human rights value. We have protected civil liberties. And this is in a context, extremely difficult context. And this is why I think we can be proud of ourselves because, you know, when you are a human activist in the opposition, you're talking about protecting values, et cetera. But when you are in charge and when you are facing the real problems, that's the real test of how really you are convinced by what you are saying. And I think the whole political spectrum of Tunisia, we did stick to this human rights values for which we have fought so many times and against the dictatorship. So I can say that the political crisis is now behind us, because first of all, we have had this constitution, the government, and now because we have decided the days of elections, we are expecting that the election will be held before the end of the year, and then really the stable institution would be set up, and then we can say that really the political crisis is behind us, and we didn't revert to dictatorship, and these human rights values are enshrined on the Constitution, but also they have been respected on the ground. Now, the second crisis, much more important, much more dangerous, is of course the security crisis. We didn't expect that Tunisia would become, country where we will have this terrorist attacks like in Syria. We were a little bit naive. We thought that Tunisia is a modest country, small country, moderate country, so we're not going to have the same problem like in Libya. And I think that we were naive because, of course, we have our own problems. The terrorism is also has its roots in Tunisia itself, because we do have an important rate of employment. We do have also, frustrated young people, but mainly this terrorist threat is imported from outside the country, from Syria, from Libya, from Mali, and from. But what we are sure of now is that we are targeted by terrorist attack. We are targeted as a country. We are targeted as a model. We are targeted as a pre-democratic country. And those guys, they don't want Tunisia to succeed because, in fact, now the choice after the destruction of the dictatorship is not between revolution and counter-revolution. I do believe that the counter-revolution have no future in Tunisia, have no future. But the choice would be given to the population now is between democracy and the political Islam, and specifically the extremist political Islam. This is the choice given to the population. And this, this mainstream of Islamist extremists, they really want to be the alternative to the dictatorship. They don't want democracy to be the alternative. This is the main challenge. This is why Tunisia is targeted by these guys, and this is why they will put all the pressure on Tunisia, so Tunisia doesn't become a success story. This is the problem. Of course, we have the third crisis. We have to face the third crisis, the economic crisis. You can understand very easily that during this period, foreign investors are not very keen to come to Tunisia and to invest. Even the internal investors, of course, they are very cautious. And all of them are saying, look, let's wait this transition period to be over, and then we will come and invest. But meanwhile, the rate of unemployment is growing, and frustration is growing, and the young people saying, look, we expected that the revolution would be a solution. Now we think that it's part of our problem because we have more and more trouble and more poverty. And this is really the most extremely dangerous situation, because if we just bring democracy to the population without employment, it won't work. It won't work, and people would say, some people now in Tunisia are regretting, the dictatorship, because they say, at that time, we have the stability, we have the rate of employment was not very, but now we are getting poorer and poorer. This is why it's extremely urgent for us, to finish with this transitional period, and then to have the economic machine working again. So let me just tell you why Tunisia is so different, why the outcome of the Arab Spring in Tunisia it's a little bit better, and why Tunisia can become a success story, why you can bet on Tunisia. We're not better than Syrian or Egyptian or Libyan or so forth. We are just the same human beings, But the society of the Tunisian society is quite different. Tunisia is a small country. Tunisia is a middle-class country. Tunisia is an educated country, homogeneous country. We don't have, like in Syria, this Shia and Sunni, etc. All Tunisians are Arab, Muslim, Sunni. So this is why it's easy in Tunisia. But the most important thing that in Tunisia, there is a state since thousands of years, and the political opposition is well trained. We have been harassed by the same dictator, Islamist and secularist. This is why we learned to work together against the dictatorship. And so after the fall of the dictatorship, the same people using to talk each to other just sat down and then decided that they are going to continue to work together. And this is not the way that happens in Libya or in other country. So because of this specificities of the structure of the society, the fact that we have also a very strong civil society, all those conditions make that Tunisia can do it. We can make it. We can succeed this transition. And once again, we have to succeed not only for us, but for the Arab world. I would say also for democracy itself. And now I will be very frank with you. We didn't have the support that we expect from the West. We were said, look, yes, it's what you are doing is very interesting, etc. But we wish you good luck. That's all. We expected more because the West gave a lot more support to the dictatorship because of the so-called stability. And now, what I'm trying to say to all my friends in the Western country, that if you do not bet on Tunisia, if we do not support Tunisia fully, really, put all give us all what we need in matter of weapons to fight against terrorists. If we don't come and invest in Tunisia, so we can give more, we can give employment to our young and so forth. If Tunisia fails, you can say goodbye to democracy in the Arab world, and for a century. And then we are going to give all the chances to the terrorists to impose their Islamic State. This is the challenge, and this is what we are talking about. So when I hear that, look, yes, we are going to give you some helicopters to fight against terrorists, but you have to wait 2 or 3 years, I say, no, we cannot wait 2 or 3 years. We need it badly. No, we did, because in 3 months' time we are going to have our elections, and we are threatened by the terrorists, and we have to solve the problem now. This is what I'm going to tell to all the U.S. officials, and I hope that I will be listened to. But once again, we are fighting not only for Tunisia, not only for democracy in the Arab world, but also for the democracy in the world. And for a small, tiny, and modest country, it's a burden. It's a burden, and it's not easy but we have to take it on our shoulders. So please help us, and we will help you. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for that powerful statement. I apologize a little for the uncomfortable chairs, but this way everyone in the back can hear you and see you as well. You talked about being the only hope. We feel the burden. You talked about no journalists being sent to prison, no television shut down. You talked about the political crisis now being over, but now more of a security crisis, and how you were naive about seeing this and how you're being targeted. You talked very strongly about the need for economic development, because democracy without that wouldn't work, and then the unique reasons why Tunisia has succeeded. And then most powerfully at the end, you complained about not getting we didn't have the support we expected from the West. We expected more. If Tunisia fails, you can say goodbye to democracy in the Arab world for a century. I think you added for a century at the end. That's a powerful opening statement, so let me pick up directly on that. You spoke a little bit about helicopters, but get specific here. What do you need from the outside world, specifically as concrete as you can. What's most urgent and most necessary, both in the economic field and in the security field?
The security field, we need helicopters. We need about 12 helicopters. We asked the United States to give us about 12 Black Hawks. And of course, that's extremely costful. Even if we have had this money, it would take 2 or 3 years, to get. But as I told you, we badly need them now. We need also devices for night vision, like things like that, for communication and so forth. Because I have to tell you that, Tunisia under the dictatorship was a policy state. So the dictator was extremely cautious about the military. So I discovered that the military, they didn't have any training or any arm since 30 years. So because the dictatorship, this kind of dictatorship, is extremely afraid of the military. So, in fact, the police was more powerful than the military. But now the problem is that we are facing this new threat, and we discovered that this army hasn't been trained and hasn't got all the means it needs. So we have to hurry up to give the army what it's really necessary to fight against terrorists. Because these guys, the terrorists, are extremely well trained. They have been trained in Mali. They have been trained in sometimes 20 years in the fighting against the Algerian army. Now they are well trained. But our own army has to be trained, and we badly need this equipment, training, equipment. Not only training and equipment, communication also. Well, I think the U.S. is involved more and more in this, in responding to our needs. But once again, it's a matter of urgency. We cannot wait. We badly need it now, because the 3 months would be the most dangerous 3 months in our history, because
these coming 3 months.
3 months, because we're going to have our elections in 3 months' time, and we are probably going to receive a lot of blows and a lot of during the 3 months. They know that they have to disturb the elections. They have to prevent the election. And the only way is to spread terrorism in the country.
And what response are you getting? It seems like a compelling message to me from the U.S. and from others when you speak to this urgency. Do they say, yes, we're going to help you now? Or what do you think are the reasons why you're not getting as much help from the West as necessary in this field?
Well, I don't understand myself, because it's obvious that to promote democracy in the Arab world, to give democracy its chance in the Arab world, Tunisia has to be helped. But sometimes I wonder whether is it because we have in this government, in the previous government, the Islamist Ennahda party, maybe. But what we have to explain to our friends, that if we consider the Islamists just like one movement, it would be useless. We have to consider that Islam is a wide spectrum, and part of the spectrum we have to have it on board, with us as Democrats, and to isolate the extremists, because the terrorists are sure they are Islamists, but they are mostly extremists. Islamists. It's not because they are Islamists, it's because they are extremists. And this was the most difficult thing to explain to our French friends, French, for them, Islamist means, and I have had a lot of problems to explain to them that we have to gain a part of the spectrum Islamists and to take it on board, to be with us against the extremists. Now they're considering the fact that it might be true. What's happening now in Libya is exactly the same problem, because if we do not have part of the Islamists, the moderate Islamists on board, it will be a war, civil war between Islamists and secularists. And this is exactly the Tunisian model. The Tunisian model is based on this very specific and very simple idea that we cannot have national consensus, peace, a civil peace, and without having both the two parts of the society, Islamist and secularist, but the moderate part of the spectrum. Otherwise, it will be the confrontation, the bipolarization. This is what's happening in Egypt now. And this is the model that we don't want.
So your message, say, to the Egyptians or other societies that would say all Islamists are created equal, is that's absolutely not wrong. What you have to bring together is the secularists and the moderate Islamists who succeed. That's the lesson of Tunisia.
This is my message. This is the essence of the model, of Tunisian model. If you want the civil unrest, to be stopped in Egypt or elsewhere, if you want the solution of the a political solution in our country, you have to bring the moderates to the government and the moderate to the Islamists and the secularists. Otherwise, you will have this confrontation, this bipolarization, and the civil war going on for years and years and decades.
Let's go to the economic side of things. Are you as disappointed with the West, with the US, North America, Europe, in terms of, and others in the world, in terms of the economic support you're getting? Do you need more there?
Well, I can understand that, of course, businessmen are not, I can understand that businessmen wouldn't invest in a country without being sure that, of course, this is their job to make money. It's our job, it's our responsibility now to overcome the political crisis, to assure security and so forth, so they can come and invest. This is what we are doing. We're not only fighting against terrorists, not only solving the political crisis, but also we are writing a new investment code, and we are giving all the, I would say, how to help the investor to come to Tunisia and to work. This is our responsibility. And I'm sure that when this political crisis is over, when we are going to have the stable government, and I hope when we are going to control the security situation, I hope that Tunisia would become a hub, because Tunisia has very interesting position in between Africa and Europe. Tunisia can play an important role in also promoting development in sub-Saharan African countries. But what we expect from states like the United States, France, and Europe, etc., is to help us, during this period where the economic machine is plugged, is stopped. We need some. For instance, we have had this loan guarantee from the United States, and this was very helpful. This kind of measure we were expecting.
And if you could just mention one place where the support should be focused, where should it be focused now? Loan guarantees?
Yes, loan guarantee, also trying to explain to the IMF that they must, of course, we have to abide by the rules, but they must also understand that we are a fragile country, fragile society, that must consider that it's very specific. They be a little bit patient with us.
So I'm going to go to the audience quickly. I'm just going to ask one more question now. When the transition, the Arab Spring, first started, I talked to Foreign Minister Sikorski of Poland, and he said to me, Tunisia is going to play the role that Poland did in the post-Cold War area. It will be the inspiration for so many others. In a way, you've played the inspiration, but not so many others have followed. How do you think you can play a role in helping Libya navigate past the spiral of violence, number one? Number two, why do you think others have not had your success? What have they done wrong? And then the third part of this is, can you really exist in isolation if you become an island
no,
or can you not?
Surely not. We cannot. If we are an island, we will be, swallowed up. I don't think that we can resist if we are. So this is why it's very important for Libya, for instance, is the most important issue for us. This morning, I have had a discussion with the Prime Minister of Libya, Libyan Prime Minister, about the situation. And we are dealing with the situation in Libya as an internal issue, not a matter of foreign policy. So we are trying to export our model. I just told him this morning what I'm saying now, that if you want really a peaceful solution in the country, you have to bring people together, and we have to accept that this country should be governed by a coalition. And this coalition is a moderate coalition from the two political trends in the society, the Islamists and the secularists. This is what we are saying to everybody. I think why did it work elsewhere? Because they stick to this idea that one part of the society can overcome, then and the second part of the society should be put aside. They believe that with the mighty, with the police and so forth, they can overcome one part of the society, and this is useless. This has been tried so many times and didn't work. So now this society, our Arab society, are not homogeneous. We have to. The choice is between having an inclusive government based on some shared value. Otherwise, it's the civil war raging for decades and decades.
William Lawrence, President of the American Tunisian Association. Maybe a fourth priority is justice. So I was wondering if you could say something about transitional justice, justice reform, the police, you know, that whole side of, particularly given your background as a human rights activist, I was wondering if you wanted to fill us in on where Tunisia is on that.
Am I to respond directly?
Yeah,
or,
no, go ahead. We'll pick them up one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, of course, it's extremely important. This is why we have had this commission of truth and dignity, which will play an important role, just like the one in South Africa, because the South African transitional justice has been our model, and we're trying to copy it in Tunisia. We have decided that really justice must not be revenge. The problem is that we have had a lot of problems, you know, to set up this jurisdiction. Now it's okay. We expect that after the elections, this tribunal would work. The other problem of we're facing a lot of corruption problems, very, very wide, and I am extremely sad to say that after the revolution we didn't cut the corruption has grown more and more, because during the transitional period the state is always weak, just because everybody knows that this government would stay 1 year and so forth. So we have had a spread of corruption, and we had also to deal with the problem I didn't expect, because how do you do an independent judiciary, with the judge you have inherited from the old system? How come you have, let's say, 200,000 judges? A lot of them have been working under the dictatorship, and then overnight you tell them, look, you are totally independent, and then you do what you want, etc. We have had a lot of very, very bad surprises, But at the same time, you have to accept that the judiciary should be independent, but with who? And how to get good judges, to have so this independence of judiciary wouldn't become a tool, against you for political reason. So it's quite difficult. It's quite a difficult problem.
I wanted to ask about your personal political future. Will you retire? Will you run for president? Is there an effort being made to decide who the president might be behind the scenes, or do you anticipate a robust contest between opposing candidates? And if I could also ask you about the Libya situation, whether there are some benefits that are coming to Tunisia because of wealthy Libyans, I understand, are filling the hotels of Tunis now and bringing a lot of their money over from Libya. Thank you.
Well, I will be very brief on the first question. I will give my response in 2 months' time, because I haven't decided yet whether I will run or not. I think it depends on a lot of internal factors, and I have to decide. I will give my response in, I think, probably at the end of September. For the Libyans, you probably know that we, on a population of 10 million of Tunisians, we have now about 2 million Libyans, and this is very important. So when I see Italian or French, complaining because they have had some thousand, immigrants coming from Africa, I feel extremely, outraged, because we have 2 million people in Libya. That makes a difference, and we have received them very well. We have shared with them everything, our houses, and I can say that I'm very proud of Tunisia because of this hospitality. The hospitality of the poor sometimes is much more important than the hospitality of the rich. We are a poor country, but we have shared everything with our brothers, our Libyan brothers. And we're going to continue, even if it's a burden. But once again, Tunisia is extremely important for Libyans, not only because it's their background, they can come to Tunisia anytime and they feel that this is their second country, but because also it's a model for us. We try to succeed our experience, once again, because we want the Libyans to have the same, I wouldn't say the same kind of state, but similar, because Libya is also very important for our economy. The problem is Tunisia is populated without natural resources, and the country Libya is not populated, a lot of internal resources. Of course, we don't want to take the money, or we want to share with them everything. We want to promote their development, and they are very important for us. So it's a win-win relationship, and this kind of relationship we're going to promote.
You had mentioned that corruption is a widespread problem emerging in Tunisia. What steps are being taken to curtail the problem? And what is the relationship between sectarianism and corruption?
Once again, we have to succeed our political transition. I mean, if we, in 3 months' time, we have a stable government, we have this constitution, we have our independent judiciary and so forth, then we will have to tackle the real social problems. The first social problem, of course, is corruption. The second social problem is unemployment. We have also another social problems, people don't pay their taxes. All this problem would be tackled by a solid and established and legal government. Now the problem is that we're facing a lot of those problems. Many problems are exploding at the same time, and this government cannot do anything because everybody knows that it's weak government, because everybody knows that the minister we have, the prime minister, they are leaving in 3 months' time. And you cannot do anything really serious. You cannot have a policy for this very short period of time. Once again, we have to hurry up this, finish this transitional period, and then tackle all the problems. And corruption is surely our priority.
President, what lesson you draw from dealing with Islamists, from engaging Al-Nahda in the Brotherhood of Tunisia? What lesson you draw, and what would be your message to the Egyptian current regime for dealing with the Brotherhood?
Well, I'm extremely satisfied with the relationship I have had with the Nahda. I'm talking as a secularist because I think they played the game. They accepted the rule of the game. They stick to the democratic values during the time they were in power. They Nahda accepted to give the power to the technocratic government to assure everybody that the elections would be fair and transparent election. So. And once again, I repeat what I have said and what I'm going to repeat every time. If you want a political situation in any country, you have to have an inclusive government. You have to have all the political actors. It's nonsense to believe that any social or political party in a country like any Arab country can be the leader, can do exactly what has been done during the 5 decades, and which led to the revolution. This is my message.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dania Greenfield, the acting director of the Hurry Center. While the microphone is coming to her, let me just salute the team that works these transition issues for us at the Hurry Center. Dania leading it, Karim Mezran working in North Africa issues, our new director, Frank Ricciardone, former ambassador to Egypt and Turkey, and of course our board member leading the Hurry Center activities, Rafik Bizri. So salute to all of you. Please, Dania.
My question is actually a direct follow-up on the previous question, looking at Egypt, and you made this very astute distinction between the range of Islamists and extremists and the need to make that distinction. And it seems quite clear that the current Egyptian government is not making that distinction and has lumped them together in one category in large part. And I'm wondering actually if you could reflect on some advice actually for the international community, for the United States and Europe, about how best to work with Egypt and the current government there in moving more towards a perspective that you've outlined and that you've embodied of inclusiveness, of pluralism, of bringing political Islam into the formal political structure so that it is not suppressed, pushed underground, and potentially further radicalized. Thank you.
I will respond to this question behind very closed door, you know. Because, you know, I don't want to have a political, diplomatic crisis with Egypt.
I guess one way to rephrase this is, are certain situations so different that you have to take different approaches, or do you think that your lessons can be applied more generally?
I do think that there is no choice, you know. If you, once again, if you want the, you don't have any choice. You have to have this inclusive government. You have to have people talking to each other. You have to have people listening to the other, and accepting the fact that in this world, nobody can impose his will to another part of the society. This is the only message. It's obvious for me, and you know, it's very difficult to demonstrate what's obvious.
That's a wonderful statement. It's difficult to demonstrate what's obvious. Last question right here. Thank you for your patience. I'm so sorry I didn't get to many of you, but this has got to be our last question because of the time constraints on the President's trip.
Major Eric McCoy at the Wyoming Army National Guard State Partnership Program. We've had partnership with Tunisia for the last 10 years. Here in about a month, I'll be in Tunisia for a medical event, working with Tunisian military, doing a lot of things. We're going to have actually Tunisians coming to Wyoming to do a helicopter event with night vision and a FLIR. So what other types of military?
Send some of those helicopters back with me.
I don't think our governor is willing to give that up. But, sir, what are some of the other things that we as the military and with the National Guard, what can we do to assist to help you, help Tunisia with their successes?
Training. We need training, not only devices, not only helicopters, but also training, communication, and so forth. Once again, we are a peaceful country. Our military have been, as I told you, was very treated very cautiously by the dictatorship. So now we have to. We have lost of time, and we don't have this expertise. Really, the expertise we need to fight these terrorists. So, training.
Thank you for that. I think we can all agree that there's just a lot from this interaction to think about, and also think what role we can play. A couple of things I just want to say in closing. First of all, if you could please stay in your seats so that President Marzuki can leave. He has to rush to another thing, and so if you could let him do that. And then finally, we are proud at the Atlantic Council that we gave you the well-deserved Freedom Award on behalf of you, but also on behalf of the Tunisian people. I think you've captured the stakes. I think you've captured what your country has achieved. So on behalf of our chairman, John Huntsman, and Peter Pham of the Africa Center, everybody at the Hurry Center, I just want to thank you for taking the time with us, and we wish you the best of luck in the time ahead, and you have us as partners. Goodbye.